I started getting another calling in the probably around 2008, 2009, which manifested as tension because I was getting a calling to do something else, but basically I was happy in my new life and I wasn't going to give it up. Whereas in my old life I was unhappy, so it was easy to follow this calling because I was unhappy. But if you get a life which you're very happy with and the soul goes, well, we want to pull you out of that happy life now. I was in my second long-term partnership. I was in my career with alternatives, which I loved. It's my family. And the soul's going, we're moving you now. And I'm going, no, I'm staying here. I'm not moving. And I resisted and resisted. And basically, when you resist the soul's calling, as some people may find out, it results in my life went boom. The relationship collapsed. I couldn't actually work in alternatives anymore. I lost all passion for it at a certain point. Something internally exploded. It felt like an earthquake going off inside of me at a certain point. And at that point, everything started dropping away. It took a year for me to leave alternatives. My partnership ended after about a year, and I went into free fall, a dark night of the soul. What I knew, the theory of this was that if I'm going through this process, I'm probably going to come out the other side lighter and brighter. But the dark night was so intense and so difficult that I lost all feeling I had any meaning in life. I felt that I should just end my life. The pain was too difficult. All my relationships and friendships seemed to be dissolving. Nobody seemed to understand what I was going through. All the healing systems I trained in stopped work. My intuition switched off. My connection to higher self switched off. And I basically went into darkness. And darkness meaning lower astral entity attacking me, psychic attacks. This went on for a long time, and I just thought I'd been abandoned by spirit. This was my feeling. And it lasted for about 4.5 to 5 years. A very long time to go through a dark night. It was not a pretty experience. But on the other side, I started to feel a shift. I started to feel the darkness leaving me. I started to feel I was coming out. It took a while. And then on the other side, I started to, what is this shift all about? What am I meant to do? And the message that came back was Ascension, star seeds, the shift. And initially, I had a couple of weeks thinking, can I do this? I'm not sure I've ever really gone into starseeds, Ascension, and the shift. And after a couple of weeks, I thought, well, if I resist this, I've already done that before, and my life didn't work out so well. So I went, okay, I'll do it. So I started running workshops on starseeds and Ascension. It was a very fast learning curve because basically my mind wasn't really up to speed with the whole thing, and I had to really download and ask, well, what is it I'm going to teach people or show people or help facilitate in people? And the first workshop I did on starseeds, there was about 30 people showed up, and at the end of it, they all went crazy. We want more of this stuff. And I was thinking, well, I didn't think really I was delivering hardly anything, but they seemed to love it. It's almost like I'd stepped on this magical place where whatever I said people seemed to like. So I thought probably the depth of the dark night did something to my energy, cleared out a lot of stuff so that I became clearer or lighter somehow, or a more open channel, because the channel kind of opened much more intensely. I was able to trust more of these downloads, and then they eventually started resulting in transmissions of all kinds of things, from goddess energies that's been on the earth for a long time, to star races, to vortexes like the one that's up there now. There's the Syrian vortex, which is becoming very active at this time of the year, to I started doing affirmation tracks and Ascension news. Ascension news is really just my take on the world and the shift we're going through, which I don't expect anyone to believe as literal truth. It's my experience from my perspective. And a lot of work I do now is clearing darkness in people's bloodlines and karmic Akashic records. But I can only do it because I've gone that far myself, There's a thing called portals. There are light and dark portals. So basically a dark portal is an opening to a lower frequency dimension, and you can have an opening in a physical human energy field, or you can have an opening in a physical space. So battlefields may have portals. There are parts of the planet which have very dark portals. So for example, I believe countries like probably Iraq, Iran have dark portals. These are very ancient civilizations. And there's been ET interference in those countries for a long time, not particularly light interference. I think other countries such as Israel and Palestine have probably got portals, which generates into fanaticism and war. Basically, if it's a portal over a country. If it's a portal in a house, you may have a house where there's been murder, or you may have a house with violent arguments, which can create portals over time. But you can have portals in the human energy field, and a portal in the human energy field, they can have more than one portal. If someone has a portal in their field, imagine your energy field is like a house, and in that house there's a back door that you don't know anything about, that beings can enter, burglars or whatever. Now, you may have some beings which are not that bad, that just want to come in and nibble at your sandwiches or whatever and open your fridge. But you may have some other beings which are much worse. So in the universe, the multiverse, which is a number of dimensions, there are many dimensions of the Earth. Some of them much brighter and lighter, and some of them, or at least one of them, much darker. This has been a fairly dark dimension, but I think there's one dimension that's darker, which is a timeline some people might go and explore who are really into the 3D matrix and don't want to leave it. So these portals can go to other places, other dimensions. If you've got portals in your energy field to lower astral dimensions, and the lower astral is really the kind of place where the collective, I'll say, evil of humanity is stored. If you think of the evil, it's a loaded word, evil, but energies of deliberate hurt or harm, violence, war, abuse, slavery, all these kind of things. That is a kind of collecting place for all those energies. So if you've got an opening in your field to a lower astral dimension, you're basically opening to lower dimensional stuff, lower vibrational stuff. Now, things which typically open people up, their energy field up, would be addictions, tobacco addictions, alcohol addictions, drug addictions, sex addictions. These are kind of things that open you up to different types of entities, different types of lower astral. So if someone is addicted to alcohol and porn, and it actually, it happens that you got people in relationships and one person starts to wake up and the other one is still in addiction to that stuff. Increasingly, the other person can't bear to be in their energy field because they're channeling, radiating lower astral stuff, and they will just be repulsed, and that will break a relationship. And I actually lived in a house of Buddhists once, and one guy that I knew, a lovely guy actually, who used to meditate a lot, but told me he had an addiction to porn. And I said to him, how can you meditate for so long, go so deep into Buddhist teachings, and do the porn thing? And I explained to him what he was doing. He's opening himself up. He did take it on board, and I think he did start switching it off. So you have to, if someone has got an addiction, they have to deal with the addiction. And once the addiction is handled, or at the same time, you could start closing these portals. But the person has to be open to it. There are ways of closing portals that involve, a lot of these angelic energies like Metatron, Michael, the higher self, and the I am oversoul. These energies can really help shut off portals in someone's field. I may have clients sometimes where their partner or someone they're close to has a portal in their field, but basically it can only be shut if you ask their higher self for permission, and their higher self may refuse. Actually, if they're going through a learning cycle around something, if the higher self refuses, you can't close it. If the higher self agrees, then they can be assisted. But if they go back to the addictive behavior, the portal's open, and so literally someone can become a black hole. And another aspect to this is if someone feels, and usually people with portals will feel this, so disconnected from their inner light that they have to get their light from someone else, they'll hook into other people. So people with these dark holes feel not only that they have this connection to the dark, but they've lost all sense of the light. So they will start calling into people with light and draining them. And a lot of starseeds and light workers are empaths, and so they're very open and also very vulnerable to this kind of stuff unless they become aware of it and cut it off. So yeah, you don't really want to be called into a narcissist who's got a black hole or a number of black holes in their field.